When I did my ancestry, boy, did I learn a little bit about my grandmother. Grandma Dixie was something else. I don't think she knew where the world was going. She died when I was 14, and she told some whoppers of a lie. First, I had always thought that I was a quarter Sioux Indian. And I know I don't look anything like it, but my grandmother, she had black hair and black eyes. And she was very white, very, very fair skinned, but she had this black hair and black eyes, and it was natural. So we all just kind of believed it. And that was not true. First, that was not true. I am 100% McWhitey. There is nothing else in me. I am like, as white as white can get. But where she came up with that, I think it's probably was better to her to be native than it was to be probably Irish, and that she held something with that. But my grandmother, she also was just kind of a wild one. I love her rebellious ornery nature. Like, it's so fun. She told me once, she's like, I'm never going to teach you how to sew or crochet, but I sure as hell will teach you how to water ski and play bridge. She chased money. She was very wealthy her entire life, and she never worked outside of the home. We all know how hard it is to keep a home, and she raised 4 kids. My mom was the oldest of 4, and so my mom was born in 1956 before my grandmother was married, and that was not cool. So my mom had a different dad, and her dad was an interesting person. They're all interesting. I only met him once, and I was 6 years old, and it was driving up to his house in Lake Tahoe was like a princess magical experience. I'd never seen anything like it. I was raised in a travel trailer. Driving up to his house, it was like a castle with a winding road up to his house with flags at each point. And his house had 2 giant, like Cinderella turrets in it that were like full apartments. There was 6 kitchens, and he was on his 6th wife. And so he loved money. He always told my mom that money was his God. And that was what turned my mother towards love. But it was really interesting. It was the first time I ever saw an intercom in a house. I got lost in the house, and they started calling me through the intercom and brought me back. Like, it was just nuts. But my grandmother and grandfather, they were never married. My grandmother got remarried to a different dude, my step-grandfather, who we're going to get into that in a second. But no one ever heard from my grandfather. It's been like 30 years. At one point, he went to prison for a short time because he owned the marina and airport at Lake Tahoe. And I don't know how absolutely true this is, but I do know he probably went to prison because he disappeared and was gone. And my mom just was like, it doesn't matter. He's a fucker. So there's that. It's been... My sister, the last time anyone heard from him was the day my sister was born, and she's about 30 now. So that's interesting, maybe 31. My step-grandfather, so my grandmother, Grandma Dixie, went on to marry Grandpa Bob. And she had 3 more kids with Grandpa Bob, but Grandpa Bob never liked my mom. My mom was like that stereotype of redheaded stepchild where she was like a Cinderella story, just cooking and cleaning, and he never really liked her. I don't know that he overtly abused her in like a physical sense, but in today's standards, absolutely, it was highly abusive, and it was not... It wasn't bad for the years, but it's definitely bad now, and it caused my mom a lot of harm. Okay, so Grandma Dixie is living on the East Coast, married to Grandpa Bob, has 3 more kids. She's got 4 kids in total. And then when I did my DNA swab, it came back that there were other marriages. Like, she got married to other people on the West Coast, But the 1 year was changed. It like popped up on my ancestry, and I was like, holy shit, like everything is the same. But she was 1 year older or younger. I don't remember. And so one of these days I'm going to go look into it, because she's not native. She told a lot of big stories, and she really just chased money and lived a very luxurious life, and was always like a kept woman. Like imagine Lucille Ball. She was just so funny. When she died, she loved the Far Side comics, and that was really cool. But she had a whole recipe box in her kitchen that you would think would be recipes, but she didn't cook. She would order in and then plate it up herself, because she didn't want to cook ever. We're domesticated, kinda. I am way more so than they are, but they were just so loud and obnoxious and powerful. And I love the passion of the women in my family, because they were just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do whatever I want. And if that is have multiple marriages, I'm sure she was doing it for money. And that would be pretty funny. When my grandmother died, the whole kind of family started to really fall apart. And my mom tried to hold it together. So my Grandma Dixie died when I was 14. And 4 years after my dad died, and we're going to get to that one too. She was crossing a street and got hit by a drunk teenager. And it was really horrific. And the family just kind of started to disintegrate, which is really what needed to happen. Because years later, when my mom died, she died when I was 30. When she died, my aunt, my mom's sister, was just like, I am not interested in having a relationship with you. None of our family is. Good luck. And I was just like, whatever. And I haven't talked to him since then. So, and that's okay, because we're just not one of them. So I guess it really does run in the family. What Grandpa Bob taught them all the way through. There were some ugly stories in there. One time when I was 14, I flew all the way from Oregon to Florida to spend Christmas with their Grandpa Bob's family, my aunt and uncles. And they just didn't, my mom and my little sister and my stepfather, we all went out there, and they didn't even say Merry Christmas to us. Like it was, my uncles both got country club memberships and golf club sets. My aunt got a new car, and he didn't even say Merry Christmas. And it was like, it was quite an ordeal. And I was like, why did we do this? Why? And yeah, I saw them the last time at my mom's funeral, and I'm okay with that. So my grandma was really just all about the money, and my mom really turned away from that, and she went towards love. And when she met my father, it was just a deep, true love. And that was something that my mom really put in my soul, was that it wasn't about money. And I'm realizing that in my part of this is the balance of both love and money. And it's fun and interesting to see how the generations bridge one to the next. My mom and grandma would talk on the phone for like an hour every week. It was on Sundays when you could call for free, because telephone calls you would be charged for long distance calls. And so they would only talk on Sundays for like an hour, and they would sit and talk. And my mom and grandma, they loved each other very, very much. They had a very special relationship, had done a lot of healing together. And I wish I knew my grandmother more. She loved me, she cared for me, she was always there, but then she was gone too soon. So that just kind of is what it is. But my mom meets my dad in California through one of my mom's cousins, and that is when things get really wild. So we're gonna jump into that one next.